Let's call this June 7th, 2021 regular Newton Falls Council meeting to order. If you could turn off any devices or set them to vibrate and stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A short prayer. Precious Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to represent you. We thank you for Newton Falls, and we just pray that you give us the wisdom and the courage to do what is best for our community, dear God. We do pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. Roll call.
Bariak. Here. Zimmerman.
Here.
Spletzer.
Present.
Raymeyer.
Here.
Okay, special presentations, there are none, I don't believe. Okay, public comments, and they're limited to 3 minutes until you have previous recommendations or requests, name, address, and the only person that requested in advance was Richard Curlin, so.
I just wanted to speak on something on the agenda, and that is the minutes.
Mr. Curlin, if you could give your...
Oh, I'm sorry, Richard Curlin, 611 North Canal Street.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Would you raise your mic up just a hair before your mouth? Thank you.
How's that? All righty. First, I would like to revert back to one of the meetings that the minutes is on, and that's the recall. I noticed that for the past 6 months we haven't had any opinions, and we got one from the law director. I remember the law director usually says all the time that he won't make an opinion unless something's wrong. Now, we've been working on this recall for 6 months, so apparently nothing's been wrong until right now. But I'd like to call a point that was done, and that was by the law director, who knows so much, and far be it from me to say anything except questions. I know that one of the things the law director said and used as a precedent for his opinion was a case involving a recall for Mr. John Baryak. Now, perhaps he wasn't fully acquainted with it. That is the state case number 2019T0040, State versus Board of Education, or Board of Elections. Now, I was there when the Board of Elections made a decision. And the fact of the matter is, that I question is, the law director uses this as a precedent as to why we should have this election during and it surprises me because that was done under the old charter, the old one. That was, oh yes it was, sir. You don't have to shake your head. I'll read it to you. You can look up the case law. The old recall was any member of council or mayor may be removed from office before expiration of his term by qualified voters of the city. Procedure for such recall shall be provided by the laws of the state of Ohio. Now, when that was passed in 2018 in November, the actual situation was it became law in February. So by saying this is a precedent, it's old. The Board of Elections didn't use that case at all. They used the new charter, which is the new recall procedure. So I don't understand how that could be a precedent when it's the old recall. I'm also curious about the fact of law that he said that there was haziness involved in determining a date. I remember one time that I heard Mr. Lynch, and this was after Mr. Fritz had given an opinion, and the big thing was that Mr. Lynch kept pushing was, if the people in the charter that made this charter wanted to have a specific date, they would put it in the charter. And we don't have anything in the charter about a specific date, but we do have a procedure. It's as plain and simple as can be. The Board of Education did what they did, and thanks to our clerk who decided they would help her so that she could make the right decision and say everything was fine. That was a good decision by our clerk. But goodness sakes, how can we possibly need anything with the ORC 705.92 when it's pretty apparent that our charter in recalls reads, council shall fix a date. That's never been argued until right now. It's been argued when they shall fix a date. It does not say we don't need to have anything when it's this plain. It doesn't say in the primary. If the people wanted to have it in the charter, they would have put in the primary. We didn't. Now on the old one, in 705.92, we would be using the state. I guess my other question is, Mr. Fritz has been over many recalls before. They've all been special elections. Now, how could that occur? I would question how that occurs, and this is the only one that's objectionable. This is under the new code that we have, the new procedure, and it says it shall be the responsibility of council to set a date. That's not hard. It doesn't say set a date for an upcoming election. And as you said, Mr. Lynch, once when you were arguing, if indeed the people wanted it to be in a general election, they would have put it in the charter. You shall choose a general election. We didn't. So I commend the clerk for taking the responsibility and saying, well, I want to get this certified, so I'm going to ask the Board of Elections. That was so easy and so smart. And she certified it. But I don't understand what Mr. Fritz is talking about, really, because he's been through these recalls. And they've been special elections. If they were wrong under this previous recall procedure, why weren't they wrong then? Now, we went in February when Mr. Baryak and I was there, and they ruled that they had to run his recall under the old system, which was not even valid after that, not at all. And it's obvious, it really is. We're comparing something to something, using it as a precedent, and it doesn't exist. The Board of Elections and the judge ruled in that case that he could not use the new recall procedure. It had to be the old recall procedure. So how that tells us, all that tells me is that during the old recall procedure, we maybe should have run all the recall elections in the primaries instead of the special elections that we had. It just calls that into question, doesn't it? So obviously, we went for 6 months, just to reiterate again, we went for 6 months. And Mr. Fritz has been good enough to say it many times. I've heard it. If there's something wrong, I will tell you. There's been nothing wrong. Now there is. What's wrong with that? And the opinion, I'm not a very intelligent man, but just read the recall. As I said, we've been working on this since the first of the year, and now something's wrong? And then we're dealing with a precedent that you put on there, sir, for something, again, that it didn't exist. It doesn't exist now. It was voted on in November of 2018 and took action in January. And that was the case number that I gave you. Mr. Bariak's procedure and his recall was based on the old, not the new that we're talking about right now. Now, I know many people have not really agreed with your dates. That's obvious that the prosecutor didn't agree with it. But you know, you're entitled to your opinion. But I don't know how you could base it on something that didn't exist. Our new recall procedure is what we're talking about here. Not in the past, the new one. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody that would like to have 3 minutes, just step up, state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Chuck Homa, 256 Woodland Street, and I wanted to address Resolution 2021 and also thank those who have been involved, Dave and the other couple of council members who have talked about the support of the soccer fields. As you know, that the park has been coming along well and it's been dedicated for baseball. They've got tournaments and all the things that have been going on, so that kind of pushed soccer out of the fields. So we ran into a problem this year and we had no place to play, and we were talking about taking it out of the city and actually joining another community to try to keep this alive. So we're thankful for the opportunity we have now because of the city coming behind us and helping us to have a field. So with that being said, we have a resolution there that's on the paper today, and I'm asking the board to support that and to really kind of help us have a home for the soccer fields. This has been kind of like a forgotten sport here, and there's a lot more we can do with the league, but it's hard to do that around baseball. So we really have to wait for baseball to end before we start up the fall, so these kids don't get to be a part of everything else that the other kids get to be a part of, you know, as far as like the parade and things like that. So it'll just give us an opportunity to grow this area. So again, I just petition you to kind of really consider this because really the future of Newton Falls soccer is kind of on the line here. So thank you for your time.
Okay, anybody else?
Tim Stinson, 253 Arlington. Going to say a couple things here. In the previous minutes, I don't know which meeting it was because there were so many, but there was a quote from Mr. Lynch who said, Mr. Lynch said the Supreme Court said that the council cannot pass anything voted on a 2-1 and 1 with the abstention. Can you quote, or I guess this would be my public records, where does that state that? Where is that ruling in the Supreme Court? Because, you know, there's obviously, when Mr. Fritz gave me his opinion, he's basing that upon old Robert rules versus the new edition of Robert rules. So I understand the Supreme Court, but I would like to see where it says cannot pass anything with a 2-1 vote. I believe that's incorrect, but I would love to see where that is actually stated. Number two, within the previous minutes, Mrs. Spletzer brought up the fact about the opt-out fee, where it clearly states that council has that ability to set rates, not the administration. I'd like to know where we're at with that, because that deadline, I believe, has now gone and passed. Second of all, or this next portion, according to ordinance 2021-05, can every single member of council sit up here and shake their head or acknowledge that they've actually read this? Again, this is a consistency thing for me. I've been very consistent. Don't pass anything unless you fully read it and understand it. There are things in there that have changed. Do you guys know what have changed? Because I highly doubt that you all can say that. So again, if you haven't read it, please vote no. And then lastly, this is going to be really unpopular, but I don't think he's going to take any offense to it because I've been so involved with soccer. But why are we combining both soccer and fire uniforms in one ordinance? I don't understand. We don't have a set dollar amount. Do we have a budget? Obviously, we have 20 grand and 15 grand but do we have quotes? This is something that I've brought up numerous times with soccer in the baseball field and help and stuff like that. So don't take that the wrong way that I don't appreciate it. But again, it's a consistency thing. We can't be spending money where we don't have the money to spend. We need to find a better way. So do we have a plan as far as that goes? Again, I'm on Parks and Rec and I don't know what that plan is. So again, this is one of those things that we're using. We have these commissions and we don't use them properly. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to the reports. Does Mr. Zimmerman have anything for Ward 1?
Yes, I do, sir. I attended a fire board meeting a couple weeks ago. Excuse me, I'm a bit under the weather, so I'll try to be brief tonight. Just monthly run reports for May. There were 167 runs through May 20th, which brings it to 781 year to date, which is on a pace of 150 runs ahead of last year at this time. There was one structure fire that there was with mutual aid in Southington. Just some of the apparatus that was repaired. The rescue service and pump tested. The rescue that was involved in the deer strike back in February, the repairs were completed. Ladder testing has been completed. Repairs are completed, squad 43-2. They came in below estimate, so that was good. The installation of the power cot on the squad 1 has also been completed. The board also voted to pass the hiring of 3 members to the duty crew, pending a background check, drug test, physical fitness test, and physical agility test. I also got to attend a baseball tournament this weekend. If anyone didn't get a chance to come out and see baseball, this was a well-run event. This was well-organized. Nice to see all the fields full of baseball for 2 complete days. I encourage everyone here to come out and support the baseball. There's going to be tournaments for the next several weekends, so please come on out and support, see the home team. I also got a chance to, I just happened to drive out on Friday night to take a look at the soccer fields, see how they're progressing, saw how they were mowed. There I saw Mr. Homa out of the field getting ready to repair or replace some of the nets, put the nets in place and repairing some of them, moving them, which I encourage anyone else that's available to please come out, support soccer. Please help as necessary to get this going again for the city. Soccer, if anyone doesn't know, I was president of the league before Chuck was, and this is something we need to continue here for the city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Boriak, do you have anything for Ward 2?
The only thing that I took care of this week, and I'd like to talk to the residents, trying to get the potholes filled. There's a lot of bad potholes. Other than that, I don't have much to report.
Okay, Ms. Spletzer, do you have anything for Ward 3?
Yes, just something real simple. On Saturday, I was up at the farmer's market. It was a cold, drizzly, dreary day, but I do want to remind people that the farmers markets are held at the last Saturday of each month from May through September. So the next farmers market will be the last Saturday in June. And that's all.
All right, thank you. Ms. Braymeyer, you have anything for Ward 4?
Yes, during our last special, we had a special meeting, so I wasn't able to attend the zoning meeting, but Mark Stemford is going to come up and give us a report on what went on in that meeting. Mark?
Okay, I gave my zoning report at our meeting June 1st. Lawn mowing to be assessed. We've mowed 26 lawns in which we're going to assess lawns at the end of the year. Permits, we've issued 30 permits so far this year. We've had 28 violations go out. I've had about 36 complaints. Obviously, not all the complaints turn into violations. At the meeting, though, we discussed a application for a dog park. There was a request for zoning reclassification and a discussion on the summer meetings, which we've decided not to have anything in July or August unless something comes up. I know there's an ordinance also out there regarding the international property maintenance. I just wanted to clarify, if you have not read it, all this is doing is taking our international property maintenance code and it's updating it to 2021. And in doing so, some of the numbers have changed as far as the preface. That's why you'll see that they're, and the cross-outs are things that we have not adopted and we will not adopt. But those are things that are, that's on the agenda tonight. If you have anything else, that's my report. Thank you.
We're not to ask any questions, Mayor.
You would have to direct him to Ms. Brameyer for Ward 4, and if she can give you the answer.
Take the appeal board away from the, put it solely on the zoning staff.
I have no idea.
Well, I asked the city manager, or Mr. Stemper. Mr. Stemper?
Well, Mr. Borek, what's the question have to do with it? Hold on. Is it, Mr. Borek, we'll wait until we get to, I'm trying to think if it should be a city manager or a law director report there, because I know that that's not in Ward 4. Yeah, when the city manager gives his report, we'll see.
Okay, I'm sorry. It doesn't take it away. It does not.
Okay, well, yeah, let Mr.
John, it does not take it away.
Okay, is that all you have, Ms. Brameyer?
Yes, yes.
Okay, do we have anything from the finance department?
Yes.
Dear honorable citizens of Newton Falls, members of council, I just want to make an extremely brief presentation. I think the city of Newton Falls, the village, it's about time we get some good news. So I do want to make an announcement. I've been the finance director here since July 11, 2016. And I've worked really hard to make sure our finances are in order. And when I came on board, we were deemed not to be able to be audited. It is my honor and privilege to announce we have received our second comprehensive annual financial report from the National Association of Government Finance Officers Association. It's the highest distinguished award possible, and it's been some weeks. I wanted to announce it earlier, but I just think now's the best time. 2019, we had a pretty much so a really excellent audit. We are in process of doing a 2020 audit, and I'm going to be upfront and honest, there are concerns for this year's audit. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns in regard to the finance department? Okay, if not, move on to the law director.
I have nothing to report, sir.
Okay, does anybody have anything for the law director?
Yes, I have a couple questions.
Okay, you have the floor, Mr. Boryak.
Let me make sure this is on.
Yeah, it's on, John. John, you just turned it
Mr.
off.
Fritz, this opinion that you just gave on the recall, who asked you to do that? I thought it took 3 councilmen to get an opinion. Who asked you to give an opinion and weigh in on this?
I did it on my own.
Get it on your own. The other thing, today I got an email, and it said if council did not agree on somebody to put on the at-large seat, that 60 days the mayor could appoint. In that email from you, sir, it had that Mr. Alberini resigned on the 4th. Now, I don't know if I'm not counting right, but you said the mayor could appoint from the 3rd to the 8th. Is that 60 days, or am I, because the day doesn't start until the day after. Remember we went through that before? Remember, in other words, when Mr. Waddell, it didn't start to the day after. So is that 60 days? Could you want to take a second and figure that out?
Day 60 would be July the 3rd?
60 days.
Yes, sir.
Or we have to wait till the day after, the
No.
4th? We can appoint the 3rd then, you're saying?
Technically up to midnight on the 3rd.
After what? I couldn't hear you, sir.
Technically up to midnight on the 3rd is your deadline.
What's the deadline, sir? Explain that to me.
You have 60 days from the day after you receive the notice of the vacancy. It started, so the 60th day is July the 3rd.
So in other words, he has to appoint by July the 3rd? Or
Council appoints. Council has to, if the council fails to fill the vacancy by July 3rd, the mayor has 5 days to fill the vacancy.
That's what I was getting at. In other words, if we don't do it by the 3rd, he can go ahead and appoint the 4th. I thought it would be the 5th. But he has 5 days in there. So if, let's say he appointed somebody the 4th or the 5th.
I don't, my opinion's been writing. He gives the deadlines. I believe the mayor knows his deadline. You know the deadline for council. It would be midnight on July the 3rd.
Okay. But you said the 3rd to the 8th on that opinion, didn't you, today? He had from the 3rd to the 8th to appoint. Could you look at that, sir, on the email?
I don't have my email with me, sir.
No.
I think I have it in front of me.
I'm just trying to get a clarification.
If
5 days from the 4th means the 4th through the 8th. He has July 4th through the 8th.
Could I see that, Mr. Klein?
Yeah.
Excuse me for a second. Has until July 3rd, 2021 at midnight, right, sir? City Council
I didn't
has...
list at midnight, but yes, that would be, after midnight it becomes the 4th.
So
That would be
then,
late.
as of the 4th, the mayor can appoint.
Correct.
Okay, and we don't have to have a special meeting or a regular meeting. The mayor just has to let the clerk know who he's going to pick. Is that what this said?
I gave the mayor a few options. What I wanted to make clear is we want to have a clear notification and record of who it is. I would prefer it to be at a meeting, but I said at the very least it should be very clear writing to the clerk of council so that we have a record of that.
once I get my paper back, the time's up, and then I'll give it.
Okay, would you please give that back? Thank you for
Thank
the
you, Mr. Mayor.
clarification. I'm sorry if it...
Would somebody else like an address with the law director?
I would like
Okay,
to address the law director.
You have the floor, Ms. Wesson.
And this relates to the opinion that he sent to us. but I'm going to refer back to the slip opinion that was issued by the Supreme Court, specifically in paragraph 4. Accordingly, under the terms of the Newton Falls Charter, the council must call for a recall election to be held by the voters in Newton Falls 4th Ward by July 7th, 2021. Your opinion, Mr. Fritz, totally contradicts what I just read from the Supreme Court. And I'm going to go to paragraph 13. The Newton Falls Charter requires the council to act affirmatively. Article 7, Section 4 states that council shall fix the date for a recall election to occur within 90 days of the date the recall petition was delivered to the officer who's sought to be removed. The opinion that you sent to us specifically contradicts everything I just read to you from the Supreme Court opinion.
Is that all you have, Ms. Blitzer?
Yes, but
Okay. Does anybody else want to address the law director? Mr. Zimmerman or Ms. Braymeyer, would you like a first address?
No, sir.
Mr. Bariak or Ms. Blitzer, would you like a second address? Okay.
I want Mr. Fritz and the public to know that I mean not to be argumentative, but sometimes you need a clarification, and sometimes there's a typo, and unless it's stated on the floor and in the record, I really don't know. So I didn't mean to I did get the answer about who asked for the opinion. You just told me that one, I got that one. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Ms. Blitzer, do you want a second address? Okay. And the only thing I have is I just wanted to question, I don't like to beat something in the ground, and just ask the law director. I had put on legislation for this agenda for the recall to be on July 6th, just because I know that we have deadlines and stuff, and I'm really trying hard to juggle a lot of items right here and do them properly. And with that being said, properly, I'm obviously not an attorney or whatever else, so I've spent a lot of months going over the charter, going over ORCs, going over ethics rulings, and brushing up on this. And to me, it's very, very clear what is said here. And what I gather out of this is that, as I do thank Mr. Fritz for his legal opinion on the recall, I look at it and I see it as based on pre-2018 information, old, and that this right here, I would have to say that your legal opinion on this is incorrect. And I would have to say it actually, with it not being on the agenda, and if we don't have it by July 7th, which the Supreme Court even said, I would have to say that we'd be in violation of the charter, and I don't know if you have anything to respond on that.
Council's repeated reading of the slip opinion is a question of semantics. I'm standing by the opinions as I've written them, and quite frankly, it's the same problem we had from day one. Is it the election has to be held, or that it has to be set by? I drafted my opinion. I gave a reason why in the extended opinion, in which Mr. Curling discussed earlier. It's in writing. My opinion's there. I don't read the way the Supreme Court answered being the same as being contrary to my opinion.
Okay, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to move to my reports here in a moment. But before I forget, and I marked it down later on, I'll probably repeat it again. With that being the case, then why are we approving minutes for the June 1st meeting tonight, in which that was a special meeting, and one of the things on the agenda there is the recall election being scheduled for July 6th of 2021. Why was that on the agenda that day? And then I flip on my phone here and look at the agenda for tonight, and I don't see it on here. Why wasn't it kept off of there, or why didn't we make a big to-do on June 1st? why weren't we said, right there, what if it would have passed? Then would we have to go back to court again? Why didn't you stop us at that time? But you know what I'm saying? On June 1st, when we had a special meeting, if you pull out the minutes, on the June 1st agenda for that meeting was to set the recall election for July 6, 2021. We had it on the agenda, which it's not on the agenda here, which I sponsored to put on tonight's agenda. It's not on there. You could look through. But on June 1st, it was on there, and we actually voted for it. And I don't understand why there's a difference of the way that it was handled.
I don't have in front of me what was happening before. The reason it's not placed on this one is because in this session of council, it's already been voted on and disapproved. At that stage, we have to have a change in circumstances or facts in order to re-bring the motion up. And the limit of time of 7 days is not significant enough to do that. That's designed under Robert's rules so that we cannot have repeat sessions, repeat motions brought up that are defeated by council and brought up again and again and again. Once they're defeated, that motion is defeated during that session of council. And by what I mean by session, technically it's a 2-year period. Our sessions are, I will use when the mayor and 2 ward members are voted in. The next session would begin when the councilman at large and 2 ward members are voted in. Those are full sessions. I'm not sure whether or not it was on before. I don't approve the minutes. Council does. I just, when we get together and start working on the agenda from Wednesday at noon till Friday, that came up, and it was just on the previous, it's been voted down during this session, so it's improperly put back on.
All right. You answered my question, so we'll have no problem then tonight. Then I'll be scheduling a special meeting to have the recall election on July 1st. Of 2021, and that actually is better for the Board of Elections, and it will save us money actually because it will be cheaper. So I'll have to remember to do that tonight. Special meeting, and I can ask council, I guess, and when my time here on my report, you guys can let me know what's good for you guys this week, as long as it's not Friday, because I'm going to be eating at Robbie Lee's for my kid's graduation party there. But other than that, I'm good. For myself, just a couple things. I think a few of you were there. I was at the farmer's market. The weather was really pretty crummy that day, but it doesn't take away from the awesome vendors and local individuals that we had out there. I had a good time with the vendors there, fellowship with you. I had some really good bakery items and learned a lot about honey and things like that to try to control some of my health issues that I have. So that was one thing. And the other one, for me, that was very important this week is to go out on my sidewalk trip with John Thompson. And I didn't realize that we went about 2.5 miles. If I'd have realized there was that much sidewalk there, I may have told him no, but the fact of the matter is, I'm going with John. I think each of you know John. And I'm going to tell you what, I got halfway. I'm by the Dairy Queen, and I'm hurting. I'm thinking about quitting. If it wasn't for having guys around me, I would have thrown in the towel. Get up, and we're on our way back, and I'm hurting. And my wife had asked me, she said, how do you feel? I said, I feel like each of us should thank God every day that we can walk. Anything we have a complaint about, whatever it is in life, you reconsider, and you have that perspective. So with that being said, it's difficult. I looked at the downward slope over by Catholic Elementary and by the high school. I'm thinking, this is going to be great on the way back. I'm going to cruise. Until I found out, no, there's a little slope for rain, which is a good thing, and so that you don't end up in a ditch, because I almost did once. You got to keep one arm. No wonder John's got them big guns that he has. I wouldn't want to arm wrestle with him. But the fact of the matter is, there's no rest when you're in a wheelchair, not in the least bit, and that's in perfect conditions. So if you have just a little bit of an obstacle, I was almost out of my wheelchair multiple times. If I was bound to it, I would have been. So the fact of the matter is, we took, not too many notes, because 6, 7, 8 items. How many? 13 items. So what I would like to do is I would like to get with Mr. Stemper. We've kind of talked a little bit, and just to go over the stuff to see what we can do to minimize on some of these things. Not saying that we're going to have a perfect sidewalk that, you know, or anything like that. But some of the things, like I witnessed the clinic that we have up on, over by old Mazinga's right there in the corner. He has to actually, the chief could give him a ticket probably anytime he wants to for jaywalking or jayriding, whatever, because he can't, he has to go from one to this other because it is so bad right there. It's like a minefield. You can't possibly get through there. And there's other areas like that that I'd like to get with Mr. Stempert and see what we can do. Areas to where, hey, if we have to get the 2x4s out and lay a little bit of cement, that's not that expensive. It really isn't. I mean, I think that it's where what you value. And Mr. Thompson, he's not the only one with the retirement home there, assisted living, that's in a wheelchair. He's not the only person that either pushes a stroller or goes on a walk or something. These are citizens, and I think that they deserve as much respect as any of us. And I would really like to work with Mr. Stempert to see what we can do and beyond that. And then if need to, we'll have to poke it along if we're too slow doing so. But that's all I have. So, Mr. City Manager.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Rusko for the work that they did over at the Ball Diamonds. The ball tournament was a great success. This tournament was called Summer Sizzle, and there's another one next weekend, and the weekend after that, and the weekend after that. And they've put a tremendous amount of work, obviously, into the tournaments. And I talked to, people don't realize, this past Saturday, there were 52 baseball games played on Saturday, and 95% of those teams are from outside of Newton Falls. And one of the coaches said to me, you know, I was at this park a few years ago, and I didn't think they could host a tournament. But now when we see what has been done to this park, we are so thrilled at the fact that the fields have been put in a position where we could host a tournament. We still have a lot of work left to do in that park, as everybody knows. But it's a great tribute to citizens that provide sweat equity to get those things done. And the city has worked very closely with the baseball league, the street department, to remove the old dugouts and get the new ones in there. The fences, all the people that have sponsored. If you look at the outfield fences on most of the fields, you see signs there where people have paid money to sponsor. And even some of the vendors, I know there was a contribution made by the fellow that operates Sloppy Dogs. And Mayor, you introduced me to Sloppy Dogs a few weeks ago, and now they've integrated themselves into the community and the league. So it was just an outstanding thing, and we very much appreciate my thanks to the mayor, the members of City Council for supporting the league, and then the league itself, all that they've been doing, and it'll just get better as time goes on. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the city manager?
Yes.
Okay.
John, can you turn on your mic, please?
Was the ball league given any money this year from the city?
This year?
From the village, excuse me.
Yeah, I don't believe so for this year. We did it the last year and the year before. Excuse me, the 2 years before. Between the 2 years, I don't remember exactly the amount, but I think it's in the $80,000 range.
How much?
$80,000 over a couple of years.
Okay.
That was mostly for fences.
Yeah. What's city property, I understand.
And Hoover Fence was the contractor.
Okay, is that all you have, Mr.
There's a couple other things
Barnard?
I wanted to ask you. I'll wait till my second.
Okay. Does anybody else want to address the city manager?
Yes, I would like to address, please.
You have the floor.
City Manager, I mentioned this at a previous council meeting, and I'm going to bring it up again. The smart meter opt-out program, the forms were supposed to be due supposedly by June 1st, and the rate has been set at $28.29. You, sir, do not have the authority to do that. Only council can set the rate. So I would like you to redo all of this, come to council, and get it approved through council.
Mr. Chairman, can I have the floor?
Sure.
Okay. Councilwoman Spletzer, the authority to set that opt-out fee was conveyed by the City Council in Ordinance 2002-23 in Chapter 953 of the Newton Falls Municipal Code.
May I please have the city manager's report at the hard copy? Can I have your hard copy?
It's in the...
Can you
Is
repeat
that the-
that? What did he just
I
say?
didn't get it.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, it was emailed to you.
Yeah, but I'd like a hard, can I see it right now?
Well,
Because I didn't bring my phone.
you can. I won't be able
Please see that.
to read it myself.
Mr. Lynch, could you repeat your comment? Mrs. Spletzer didn't hear the verbiage there.
Yeah, well, Mr. Barack now has my copy, so I can't. 2002-23 was the ordinance number that conveyed that authority.
Okay, would anybody else like to address the city manager, Mr. Zimmerman or Ms. Braymeyer?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Boriak or Ms. Spletzer, would you like a second?
Yes, one of the things that I did send him a laundry list of things that I would like covered in the city manager's report, and he did cover most of them, up to the very last one, and it's partially my fault. One of the items on my list was I wanted to know if somebody that lives waiver in Ward 3 can get from where we live to here and it be all ADA compliant. The sidewalks, the crosswalks, because I don't believe there's a crosswalk in front of this building to get, and the sidewalks are only on the other side of the street.
Sure.
So we don't have a crosswalk for someone to get over. That's what my intention was. I know the bathrooms are compliant, but I need to know that they can get here.
Mr. Chairman, can I have the floor for a minute?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that now. The way it read, it looked like it was a building compliance issue, so my apologies, and I'll try to trace that through. Thank you.
It's a matter of them being able to travel in the wheelchair from,
got it.
that side of town and over here.
I understand now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I have a second address now?
Yes, you have the floor.
I've had a lot of complaints about the grass mowing and non-weed whacking. Can we get anybody else, or can we do anything else, sir, to help make the town a little bit better, at least a little weed whack? We're having private citizens take care of the parks. We shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, may I have the floor, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. I think we're referring to the pond for the fishing derby, and believe it or not...
No, I didn't say that now.
I understand that.
Don't put words in my mouth, sir.
Okay.
Please.
Well, I'm going to try really hard not to do that, but there are areas around town in which we try to keep an eye on that on a regular basis. And I'm going to mention the fishing derby, not because you said it, but because the fact that I was under misunderstanding that the circumference of the pond was to be left at a longer length on purpose for the purposes of the derby, and I was mistaken in that, and that's why that didn't happen, because we did cut all around that area, but we left the circumference about 2 feet on the circumference of the pond. We left it longer because my understanding is that was what they preferred for the derby. By the way, I've since been disabused of that notion, so that was my fault. Generally speaking, we do try to have the guys get out there and do the weed whacking, and I will have a meeting with Rich, John, in order to accommodate that. We have been down 2 guys over the last couple of weeks, and so we'll be back up to full staff very shortly, and we'll make sure that's taken care of.
The other question I'd like to ask, we have all the fellows that are over in the sober living and in the rehab, and it's my understanding, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that they would like them to do 5 hours of community service a month. As a matter of fact, one came to me and said, what could he do so I could, would I sign off as a community service?
Sure.
Why can't you, I don't have the authority to do that, why can't you have the fellas pick up trash around town? They seem to walk all over town. Maybe they'd like to pick a couple of bottles and, I mean, could we maybe check into that, sir?
Sure, yeah, we've done that before, by the way, John. We did that
Yeah,
this
but
last...
I mean, we have to keep this town on a regular maintenance.
We did that this last weekend with those guys.
Okay, your time's up, Mr. Boriak. Let's see where we at here. Changes to tonight's agenda, none, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Approval of previous minutes. We have a motion to approve the May 17th regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to, you can do that all in one motion before if you want.
Okay, that's a good idea. Do we have a motion to approve the May 17th regular meeting minutes, the May 21st, May 27th, and June 1st special meeting minutes?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, if not, Ms. King, can you call for the roll?
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spitzer?
No.
Raymeyer?
Yes.
Bariak?
No.
Mayor Klein?
Okay, yes. All right. Public hearings, none. Unfinished business. If Mrs. King wants to...
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Sir, are we going one meeting at a time on that approval?
No, we approved all four
Oh,
together.
okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
You're welcome. If you want to read the
Yeah,
motion.
motion to schedule the summer council meetings for July 6th, 2021 and August 23rd, 2021. This was tabled from the last meeting.
Okay, do we have a motion to take it off the table, put it on the floor? Okay, I mean, if, you got about 2 seconds, and if not, then it dies. All right. Okay, motion dies. We'll move on to new business. Mrs. King could read the first ordinance under the new business.
Ordinance 2021-05, an ordinance repealing ordinance 2018-16, adopting the International Property Maintenance Code, and adopting ordinance 2021-04. I'm sorry, 05.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
If I may be recognized, Mr.
Go ahead, Mr. Bariak.
I'd like to ask the city manager for just a little bit more clarification, because I had read the parts, only one part was blacked out. What specifically is this going to entail? I read the part that was read it out, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any substantive changes between the two versions. Keeping the zoning appeals in place was one of the things that the zoning board wanted to make sure stayed there, and so they made a point of make sure that's maintained. So I'm not aware of any substantive changes.
Is that all, Mr. Bariak?
Thank you.
Anybody else like the floor?
I have a question.
You have the floor, Ms. Spitzer.
It's called ordinance 2021-05 at the beginning, and then 2021-04. Are they supposed to?
No, I made a typo in the title. It was originally 04, and we used that number for something else, so it needed to be 05. I read it as 05. It should be 05.
Both should be 05s. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that all, Ms. Spitzer?
Yes, is this where Mr. Stimper could come up and give us a better explanation about this? I looked at it on the computer, and it made absolutely no sense to me. So
This allows us to do several things, but mainly it's the Property International.
Yeah, hold
Mark,
on.
Could you speak up a little bit or put that mic?
Somebody wants to make a motion to suspend the rules to council for a moment for Mr. Spletzer to give us a little bit more information.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Freymire?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Okay, rules suspended.
Okay, this was initially approved back in 2018, and I have the ordinance here. There's no...
Mark, could you approach the microphone?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
please.
there's no subsequent change to any of these. The part that is crossed off on the version, we did not adopt that in 2018, and we're not adopting anything additional. The things that have changed is in the new version of the book, the numbers have changed. So if you're looking at that section, the numbers have changed in the international book. It's the same language, there's no additional changes. However, they've added things in other sections, which when you go along with the book, it goes forward and forward. So what happens is the numbers are changing and it's updating to 2021 from 2018. That's the only thing we're doing here. There's no, it's already been approved back in 18. I'm not saying, but this allows us to do the grass and other ordinances. You can read all the things under the International Property Code that allows us. And with this being approved, I can then send this to my programmer, and then they can put these in to my program. So when there's a violation out there in the city, I can then give them a property violation. But without that ordinance being passed, we'd have to go off of 2018's, and it's just it's more or less a formality.
Mark,
Anybody have any questions?
have you recognized, Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Semper, I didn't get the old book. I don't have that book. But I got a quick email. You're right, part was crossed out. I didn't know what, it didn't have, it was suspended in 2000, blah, blah, blah. But that, what I got, is that the specific changes, the minor changes?
Yes. And actually, the one that was approved was from the book of 2015, but it was approved in 2018. So we're just bringing up from 15 to 2021, which the language hasn't changed. It's just the numbers in the sequence of order in the book.
Okay, anybody else?
Anybody else have any questions?
Okay, if not, did you have anything to add, Mr. Stempert, before we go ahead and go back to regular rules of
I would
council?
just encourage you to approve this so that I can continue to do my job as efficiently. I just thought it was good that we brought it up to date because it's 2015 version. I know it was approved in 2018, but I want to just bring it up to date to 2021 so that we're in compliance with the dates.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to return back to regular council rules?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, roll call.
Freymire?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman? Yes. Spletzer?
Yes.
Okay, back to regular rules of council. Does anybody else have want an address on this before we call for the roll? Okay, if not, Mrs. King, if you could call for the roll on this.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Freymire?
Yes.
Okay, passes. Next is what, resolution?
20-2021, a resolution authorizing the city to provide for restoration and maintenance of the soccer fields and providing funds to the New Falls Joint Fire District for fire uniforms.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to have an address.
Okay, you have the floor, Mr. Bariak.
I'd like the public to know tonight that I'm first one that wants to help kids in the community and see our kids out on the playground instead of in a dark alley. But the way this is lumped together, I think each one should be argued on its own merits, and not, if you don't take one, you got to take both, or you don't take either one of them, which could make us look bad. I'm going to vote no on this tonight until they're separated. And the other thing is that I'd like to see the fire I would wonder if I could ask Mr. Zimmerman a question, since it pertains to this Newton Falls Fire District.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what it is.
Mr. Zimmerman, did you know that, did you get the bids for this uniform, sir?
No, sir.
What did he say?
He said no.
Well, how do we know what kind of figure it was once to adopt on? There's another reason. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, when it's appropriate, I'd like an address.
Okay. Would anybody else like to have an address on this?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Lieutenant Kill is the one that went out and got the bids for the uniforms. He supplied the city with 3 bids, 3 different companies. This was the best one.
Okay.
I also encourage everyone up here to vote for this, as this is something that has been worked for quite a while for the fire department. We've been trying to get them new uniforms now for quite a while. They're well deserving of these new uniforms. I see no reason for us not to support them with these uniforms. Also now, as far as the soccer mowing goes, I urge everyone up here also to support that. Soccer here has long been a part of this community. It has been around for a very long time. This city, as long as we can, support the soccer, support this program. I encourage everyone here to do so. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Zimmerman, did you sponsor that? The resolution?
Yes.
I'm just curious,
Yes.
of, not to be critical or anything like that, of why we wouldn't have put the dollar figures in there just as a little bit more information on there. Oh, is it in there?
It's in the body of it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, I didn't see it on
It's
there.
in the body of the
Okay.
resolution.
All right. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else want to address? Okay, let me see if Mrs. Spetzer or Ms. Braymeyer, would either one of you?
I would like a first.
Okay,
Yes.
Ms. Spetzer.
I also agree that, these two things should not be combined together. Each should be on its own separate ordinance. And then, I think it takes a fair chance of being approved. But two things that have absolutely nothing to do with each other being stuck together just doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, is that all you have, Ms. Spetzer?
That's all.
Ms. Braymeyer, did you have anything?
No.
Okay, Mr. Barak, did you say you wanted a second?
No, if this is brought back in separate legislation, I would consider it, but I've made my position already, sir.
Mr. City Manager, did you want an address on that?
I didn't. Councilman Zimmerman covered that point I was going to make, so
Okay.
no.
Mr. Law Director, question here. Do we want to go into roll call here and vote, or do we want to, since there's a motion on the floor, do you look to one of these guys to, or ladies to make a motion to table it, to have them separated? What do you do? Vote on this one, and
There's been no motion.
If you don't, tabling would just bring it back at the next meeting in the same form.
okay.
The one option may be to try to separate and orally try to amend them this evening, or I think more practically speaking, have the staff split into 2 separate motions for the next meeting we're at.
Okay, I mean, do we need to vote to do that, or do we want to vote in his presence? Because I know that you have 2 individuals that are going to vote it down, maybe more, I don't know. So do we right now, do we make a motion to have them tabled and separated for the next meeting, something along
I'm not
those
aware of
lines.
any reason they would have to be together. Is there any reason they have to be together?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could have the floor for just a second. I would have no objection to a motion to amend that we pass this in Form A and Form B. In other words, have A be the version related to the soccer and B be the version related to the uniform. So if somebody made an amendment to that effect tonight.
We'll just have them amended just to be separated.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
sure. I would have no objection to that.
Mr.
Mayor
Boyer.
Klein,
Yes.
I'd like to have more time, instead of doing it tonight, I'm not totally
Okay.
prepared, to argue each one on its own merits and do research. I'd like to vote it, my vote will be to vote it down, and we can call a special meeting in 3 days if we have to, and get it back up. But I'm not prepared to argue tonight. My vote is be no.
Okay, do we, does somebody want to
Motion to table, maybe, Mr.
make a motion to
Just, yeah, vote down.
vote it down? Okay, we're going to vote it down, but on the 21st meeting, we want to have them separated, so.
That's
okay.
fine. I don't have any
So
objection to that.
do we need to make a motion to, or table these until the meeting of the 21st, separate items? Something along that line.
I don't have any objection to that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so do we have a motion to do
Is that
so?
legal, Mr. Fritz?
We'll vote on it.
To table these until the meeting of June 21st as separate items.
No, because this would come back as this specific
Okay.
item. So just either vote it down or,
Okay, all right.
yeah, just
All right.
leave it and then the next one.
We
will-
voted down, is somebody going to have to sponsor them separately? Maybe Mr. Zimmerman or whoever sponsors
I
it.
could sponsor that, sir.
All right, well, whoever wants to do it can do it, but right now, we'll just go ahead and vote then. Mrs. King, if you could call for the roll.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spletzer?
No.
Braymeyer?
Yes.
Bariak?
No.
Mayor?
Okay. No. Okay, fails. Okay. Okay, Mrs. King, if you could read the number 3, the
Yeah.
motion.
A motion to appoint John Rusko to the Parks and Recreation Commission to fill an unexpired term ending 12/31/2023, and Tanya Klein to fill an unexpired term ending 12/31/2021.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Zimmerman, do we have a second? Do we have a second on that? Okay, it's going to die here in about 2 seconds if we don't. 1, 2, okay, motion dies. Okay. Number 4,
Motion to set the council meetings for July 6th and 19th and August 2nd and 16th.
okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, any discussion?
yes, I'd like to have an address, sir.
Okay, you have the floor, Mr. Boryak.
The first question I'd like to ask, if the law director could weigh in, if this doesn't pass, wouldn't we still go back to 2 meetings a month? I mean, the way it is, and we have 2 meetings a month unless we vote we only have one. Is that, I'm almost positive I read that in the charter. Could you bring that up, sir, and read that?
We are required to have 2 meetings each month, scheduled the first and third Monday of the month, but the charter also provides for 1 meeting in July and 1 meeting in August.
If we vote on that.
No, it's, well,
If we vote on it to have 1 meeting a month. If we don't, and it doesn't pass, we still have 2 meetings, right?
correct, it's an option, correct. If we do nothing, we would have all the meetings.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and call for the roll.
Well, I'll read it right here from council rules. During the months of July and August, council may, at its discretion, dispense with one of the regularly scheduled monthly councel meetings. So council may only have 1 meeting in July and 1 meeting in August. I think we've got a lot of stuff that needs attended to, and we need 2 meetings in both months. So I put this item on the agenda so that we could vote on 2 meetings for July and 2 meetings for August.
Okay, Is that it, Ms. Spitzer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody else?
I can't understand, Mayor, because if this is voted down, the July 6th and 19th and August 2 and 6, and, excuse me, I got to put my glasses on. The 16th, we're still going to have 2 meetings, one on the 1st and one on the 3rd Monday of the month.
Yeah,
All right, well,
I believe so.
it's a no-brainer.
Mr. Law Director, is that the case? A yes passes them, a no still passes them because you didn't set anything for one meeting. I believe you're correct.
Yeah, wait a minute, he's looking up the dates. Appreciate it.
That is correct. No matter, in either way, whether this is passed, this will put these dates in specifically, but if it does not pass, we would have the 1st and 3rd Monday of the month.
Okay.
Excuse me, except for July 6th is a Tuesday because July 5th is a Monday, so it would set the first meeting in July.
Okay. All right, so is there any other discussion? If not, if Mrs. King could call for the roll.
Spitzer?
Yes.
Braymeyer?
Abstain.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
What did he say?
No.
Okay, so what was the count there? 211?
Yes.
All right, so I guess it fails, but instead of, what's the dates that we have then?
It'll be the 1st and 3rd again.
It would be those dates anyhow.
Except for July, the first meeting in July would be on July 5th, which where offices are closed.
So that's why I said July 6th.
Right.
Yeah, but since individuals voted accordingly, I guess we still have it on the 5th then, right?
The 5th is the recognized holiday.
It's a federal holiday.
All right, so we have it on the 6th?
Yep.
All right. All right.
Next one, motion to, for the city to go out for bids for 2021 paving.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Except for number
5?
Oh, that's the paving?
Yes.
Yeah.
I sponsored that. I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Boriak, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Fletcher. Discussion?
The reason I sponsored this is because I'd like to see us go out for our own bids. There's some other companies out there. I've heard of them, one called American. Varnell was only $6,000 higher, and there's nobody saying we can't go with the Trumbull County engineer. Very honestly, I have to say that I'm not satisfied with their work. If you go down First Street by the junkyard, because they didn't put any fill in the berms, I know it might not have been in the contract, it's already breaking the berm off. We may be able to get a better job, and if not cheaper, if we can get something like, hey, I'll give you this more for the money, or I'll do more. What's $6,000? We spent that on a golf cart. I mean, no, I don't mean to be, I mean, we got money for certain things. If we get a better job for the people of this town. And another thing, I haven't had yet to this day what roads we're going to pave.
It's in your packet.
Oh, yes, it's in there.
Okay, well, I didn't get a packet.
Yes, you did. It was emailed to you on Friday.
All right, well, I want to know, I told you I'd like to have a hard copy. But that's the reason why I'd like to go out for bids. And I didn't want it to slide by because I know the bidding process has to be advertised. And we'll be pushing a deadline. So that's why I sponsored it for now.
Okay, is that all you have, Mr. Boriak?
That's all I have.
Okay, does anybody else want to
I would like to be
address them?
recognized, please.
Okay, you have the floor, Mrs. Fletcher.
I believe when the city manager sent it to us at the last council meeting, the bid was $217,000. And I looked in the chart, or in the budget, and I see that there's only $40,000 in the budget for paving. And I want to know, where's the extra money coming from? That's a huge difference. Where is the extra money coming from? If the bid came in at $217,000 and we only got $40,000 in the budget, where's it coming from?
Would you like to respond to that, Mr. City Manager?
No, my anticipation is that it would end up being general fund for the balance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to have a second address when everybody's done.
Yeah, let me, Ms. Spletzer, did you have anything else on that?
No.
Okay. Mr.
I have a
Zimmer-
list of the roads if Mr. Bariak wants to see it.
Okay. Mr. Zimmerman or Ms. Braemar, would you like an address on this?
No.
Okay. Mr. Boriak, you want your second?
We voted down using the county engineer the last time. Can we still use him if, Mr. Lynch, if we do go out for bids and his bid is lower, there's nothing stopping us from using him?
It would depend a little bit on the timing, John.
Well,
So the answer is...
First Street was done when last year, sir? October?
No. First Street was done as part of the regular program last year.
I understand that, but they didn't do it but we had, I remember we used their bid.
Yeah,
we used their unit price.
Right. Yes.
Well, what I don't want to fall into right now is not have this council pass to go out for bids and then blame it on me or somebody else because I wanted to try to save the taxpayer $1. Now, in other words, if we don't go with the county engineer's price, we don't get no roads done this year. Does it sound that way, sir? How would we work that?
It's within the realm of possibility. I mean, the paving plants are open already, John.
What's that?
The paving plants are open already. They're out there creating it, and that's why the county bid our roads as early as they did. And they do it early every year because by the time the contracts get lined up, it's a pretty significant delay. And the bids were very aggressive this year. I think there were 7 that came in this year. And the city's been having the county prepare our bid specs, I think, for the last 15 to 20 years. That's because the county can be more aggressive than we can because our volumes are so much lower than the county's.
Oh, that's what we heard. That's what we heard, sir. I don't know that for sure. What I'm saying to you, sir, is this. If tonight this council would pass this, tomorrow morning, couldn't you go out and talk to these 7 contractors and ask them to submit a bid?
Well, we'd have to write...
In other words, it would take, they know what they're bidding on.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd sharpen the pencil a little bit.
John, I have no problem doing that. If you want to, I'd prefer that you not pass this tonight, and well, let me explain where I'm going with this. I have no problem picking up the phone and talking to those contractors and doing something of that nature, but the difficulty is that bid specifications have to be prepared and published, and there's a whole, John, you know, you've bid on other bids before, not in Newton Falls, but elsewhere, and you know that there's a sort of a lengthy process.
30 days, sure.
I would say, boy, at least, because then there has to be a tabulation after that.
If it's not passed tonight, where are we going with this?
Well,
that's what I'm asking you.
Well, the county aggressively used the prepared bids, so that'd be the direction we'd be going in.
We voted down not to use the county's bid.
I understand that, but there was an earlier passed, I think it was in February, there was a motion as relates to bids for the county that was passed, so we'd be okay.
Okay, we got that squared away to see if there's any other comments or discussion here before we call.
Mr. Cohen, I'm not finished. We went through this last year, Mr. Lynch. I said we wanted to go out for bids this year, and you knew it, and you went with the county anyhow. You did. Last year I said next year we're going to go out for bids, and you said okay. Now this year we were right back in where we went last year. We could have got these bids.
We did go out for bids through the county process. In fact, the state of Ohio has a bidding program that identifies that county conglomeration of bids of all different municipalities qualifies as a very effective bid program. So the answer is, we did go out for bids. We did.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, if not, if you want to call for the roll, Ms. King.
Braymire.
Abstain.
Bariak.
No.
Zimmerman.
No.
Spletzer.
No.
Fails.
Motion to appoint Katie Carl to the vacant at-large council term expiring 12/31/2021.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
That way you don't get this. That's your best.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
I'd like to weigh in on, is this for Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
All I'm going to say about this tonight is that I've been here 71 years, and Mrs. Carl ran for councilman at large and got beat, ran for Ward 4 and got beat. And I really feel it's time that we get some fresh faces that want us, that have served this community. As a matter of fact, last meeting I offered Mr. Tim Stinson. No. I don't know what's wrong with the man's been on Park and Recs. He's well-versed, charter and everything. And I just feel I'm not demeaning Mrs. Carl's contribution. What I'm saying is that's time to get somebody fresh in here and give somebody else a chance with fresh ideas and that. I'll vote no tonight on that.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, I'd like something.
You have the floor.
The last 6-7 months, I've got to know Katie very well. She knows the charter. She knows the rules.
Microphone up, please.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. She knows the charter. She knows the rules. She's not afraid to speak out. And I would vote yes for her. Thank you.
Okay, keep it down. Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
You have the floor, Mr. Zimmerman.
I would just like to say, do we have all perfect candidates for this position? Probably not. Do we have someone that can help us bridge next 6-7 months? Yes. Ms. Carl is well-versed in the charter. She's well-versed, like Ms. Braymire said, well-versed in the rules. I still think that she would be, help us get through. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want an address here?
I'll address Mr. Klein. I've received 10 to 15 calls specifically from Ward 3's constituents asking me please to do not vote for Katie Carl for the at-large position. I am here to represent the constituents in my ward, and I'm going to vote the way they want me to vote.
Mr. Zimmerman or Ms. Braymire, would you like a second?
No.
Mr. Boriak or Ms. Spetzer, would you like a second?
No, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. King, if you could call for the roll.
Bariak.
No.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Spletzer.
No.
Braymire.
Yes.
Mayor.
No.
Motion to review the legal fees related to the Supreme Court of Ohio case number 2021-0641.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
First of all, if I can be recognized, sir.
You have the floor.
First of all, when I asked who was paying for this Supreme Court, even though it didn't come through council, through authorization, I was told it's in the budget. And so we can just go out and spend, as a matter of fact, I don't know how much has been spent with the Supreme Court. Can you tell me, Mr. Lynch?
You have the floor.
Okay. we don't have a bill on it as of yet, but my anticipation is for that case number will be under $10,000. That's my anticipation.
What does this motion review legal fees? What does that, why is this on here? Can you explain this to the public?
You'd have to talk to the sponsor, which I think is the mayor.
I'm looking at the fact that, and I don't know since it's just the Supreme Court fees, but it's the same law firm that's was at the Supreme Court hearing as well as against Ms. Spletzer and stuff, so I don't know if, and you said you haven't got a total bill, but I don't know if we have a running hour and what they charge by the hour. I don't know if we have something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what the hourly rate is. I think it was $2.50. $2.25 is.
Okay, do we know what the ballpark figure of the hours is that they put in so far then?
As I mentioned, I think the total bill will be under $10,000.
And that's for the Supreme Court.
Right.
Okay, who, again, that's part of it, who authorized that? I mean, who's paying for it?
Well, I'm anticipating there'll be a vote on this motion, and then we'll gather all the information, report back to council. I get the impression that's the purpose of the motion.
Okay, no, because what I'm asking is on the discussion here, all right, so we need to vote on this to get the information.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, may I have an address?
Let me see if Ms. Spletzer, Mr. Zimmerman, or Ms. Braymeyer have an address on this.
No.
No? Mr. Zimmerman, Ms. Spletzer?
No.
Okay, Mr. Boriak, you have a second.
I don't know about it, even maybe we ought to amend this, because I was in court the other day for Ms. Tess Spletzer, and they had a big Cleveland law firm come in there to represent her. Who's paying for that?
Mr. Boriak, that's what I asked him. That's the same thing. It's
Who's paying for that?
It's the same law firm.
That's our law director's job.
But, so that's part of what we'll be voting on here, but the sad fact is, I have a feeling that we're not going to vote to be able to discuss it, that it's going to probably go down, and it's sad that we can't have facts to where a running total of what we're paying for here. Sad that, and sad the fact that if it didn't go in front of these individuals here, who decided to pay this? I mean, the individuals that decided to hire them, maybe they should pay for it. You know, that's my thought. Mrs. Kane, if you could call for the roll.
Zimmerman?
No.
Spletzer?
No.
Braymeyer?
No.
Bariak?
Well, are we going to get the legal fees? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last.
No.
I'll bring it to the next meeting either way, Mayor.
Okay. All right.
Bariak?
No, then.
Okay. Fails. Public comments. Non-agenda items also included on second comments. Your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
Katie Carl, 128 West Quarry. I would like to thank council for the opportunity, and Mr. Bariak, thank you very much. Mr. Klein, thank you very much, and Mrs. Spletzer, thank you very much for the opportunity. And the shenanigans and the nonsense that you're going to allow to continue, well, that's on you as the ringleader, and I'm sorry, but I was going to help and try and help with the transition, as Mr. Zimmerman said, and that's something that you're going to need somebody to help and do that, and hopefully you will find a candidate to do that, because I'm going to still help with the community that I love, and with all of the different events and wonderful things that we have going on in this community, and the Christians and the wonderful people that we have involved in this community that do reach out and help each other and love each other, and the ugliness has to stop. It really does, because otherwise it's going to continue. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm still going to keep going and helping. So God bless you all.
Okay.
Tom Colosimo, 4196 Carson Salt Springs Road. I just have a question. I'm a little confused with Anna Munson. She said that we're being audited. I think that's by the state. I spoke with Mr. Lynch and I asked if there was any money being stolen, any village employees stealing any money. He said no. So I don't understand why we're being audited. I was wondering if she could explain that a little bit more, maybe in the public comments. That's all.
Patty Hans, 3890 East River Road. Mr. Mayor, I did put in a public records request for those legal fees. It is the same Cleveland law firm that Mr. Lynch is using for his lawsuit that he filed against Jim Luanawansu. It is also the same law firm that represented Kathy King against Pat Lashock and Jim Luanawansu. When I asked for the public records request for any retainer fees, any anticipated payments, it came back that there were no records that existed. I shot back an email citing the case number that Kathy was involved in. So that was back in August of last year. I have asked her a question, how much that was. You know, if there was no records existed, I don't know if it's her that's not providing the records, whether it's Fritz or Lynch not allowing these records to go out. Excuse me. But I did send a second request for them. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to send out a third request for them. So I do hope someone gives me the figures for this Cleveland law firm, how much money is being spent, and how many lawsuits they've been in. Thank you.
Chelsea Harper, 128 West Quarry. So the walk for SAP, we have to set a date, and I'm hoping that council can get with us and let us know, or somebody on council can let us know if we can use the police parking lot still, and when that would be acceptable to use it. My guess would be August. Obviously, it's not very big whenever we do it, so it's literally just one officer walking us around the main block. We're also going to be doing a benefit for her nephew, actually, Jace. He's a 9-year-old that just got diagnosed with cancer, and he has to have a liver transplant, like, immediately. So we're trying to help the family out by having a benefit. It won't be at Faces because they have graduations and everything else, and this is last minute. So if anyone knows of anywhere that might be able to, like, help or has, like, a big sanctuary or something that we could use, let me know. So if anyone has any ideas, please let me know. Oh, yeah, we're cooking hot dogs. Sometimes we have hamburgers for Jace. It's $1 a hot dog. Technically, we're not selling them. They're a donation. So.
I just had a couple things. Rick Curlin, 611 North Canal. I want to thank Matthew Mazaris for spending 6 or 7 hours by himself for doing the pond. He did it by himself to make the community look good, and it looked fabulous. He did this at 10, 11 o'clock at night and came back the next day and did it. Nobody seemed to want to mention that, but he should be applauded for that. The other thing is, really, and we seem to lose track of it sometime with John. John Bariak spends days all the time doing the Commerce Park. Spend it today. And we don't get even a thank you, John, for it. I can't believe it. What could that be? Thank you, John, for doing Commerce Park. Appreciate it. I wanted to mention Also, just something that I had gotten public records on, and it came back from 911. And I asked how many 911 calls from 2019 through today. Of course, that was a week ago. And the number was 12,560 911 calls. Do you have any idea, and I called the court and had something done with that too, public records. How many people have been charged from Newton Falls out of 12,560 calls? One! Must be a coincidence. One out of 12,560 911 calls, which included poop in the yard and many other things. The other thing I wanted to say, and I appreciated the law director from mentioning that, about he's standing behind his opinion. I wasn't really arguing the fact that we had to do a date or not a date. I was arguing the fact that he said it had to be a primary, because it has to be a primary or general election. It doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You might want to read the procedure on that, sir. It doesn't. It says nothing in our charter about having a primary or general election, does it? No, doesn't. And that is what I was saying came out of the glue all of a sudden. We're going to have it on a general election? There's nothing that says that. There is no precedent to allow that. None. When Mr. Bariak was recalled, they did it because it was under the old rules. And the old rules, in fact, go back probably until 1966. This is the new rules we were talking about, and there is no precedent under that. Thank you.
Okay, if that's it, okay, Mr. Stenson.
Mayor, can I be recognized? I just want to clarify one thing.
Yeah.
Per Ohio Revised Code and our city charter, we are a village, we're under a population of 5,000. So we're required to do an audit every 2 years. However, as I was appointed by council back in 2016, I require, going more and above and beyond that, I require an annual audit, which is part of why we received the CAFR award. And as you know, I'm very stickler. There's no fraud, there's no money stolen, because as you know, Attorney Joe Fritz would probably, like Anna, stop working on Saturdays. I'm very strict on what happens here, so I'm doing my best, and this is a blessing, and I'm very proud to call Newton Falls my home. Thank you.
Tim Stinson, 253 Arlington. Couple things I'd just like to address. First of all, Mr. Mayor, the Supreme Court and the legal fees related to this, you guys are never going to find that motion out in an open session like this.
Speak up just a little bit, I'm sorry.
You're never going to find out the legal fees in a session like this. It should fall under some sunshine laws or something along those lines, but I highly suggest you bring that up into executive session, and you guys can dig a little bit deeper and get any questions you want answered then behind closed doors. So that would be my suggestion to all of you. You probably can't do it in tonight's executive session, but in the meeting that you're going to call for in the 3 days here, you could definitely do it then. Second of all, can you, Mr. Lynch, answer me why I am not allowed to bring a water bottle into the building anymore? For the last 2 meetings that I've attended, the officer out front has stopped me from bringing my own water bottle into the building and says I'm not allowed to bring it in because he was directed to not allow that in because he was afraid that I was going to throw a water bottle, which that's absolutely absurd, but that's, you know, we're not at a Browns game. So that's number 2. Another point where are we at with our close to $1 million of COVID money? Do we have any idea where that's at, or what our plan is to spend on that? That has just kind of come and gone, and we haven't mentioned it in quite some time. And then the last thing that I'd just like to say, while she's sitting here, I'd just like to give her kudos for standing up. I haven't necessarily always agreed with Ms. Munson on a lot of issues, but I have found a new respect for you, what you did a couple meetings, standing up there, finishing your job, and obviously sitting here shows a lot about your character, even though that I believe that supposedly you're on medical leave, but that I don't know. So I just would like to congratulate you, or not congratulate you, but at least applaud you for again, sticking with your character and just, I just want to say that. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
It had to do with you and not getting voted on.
Tanya Klein, 19 East Corey. I don't know where I was going to go with this. I'm going to give you my standpoint from the wife of a mayor. The wife of a mayor who sees all behind the scenes and who knows all. Who sees her hero in the middle of the night get up out of the bed because he can't sleep because he was stabbed in the back once again, and he's hurting. How it affects an entire home when he's hurting. So is he the ringleader? You bet your buns he's the ringleader. He's the ringleader for righteousness. And when a godly man rules, the city rejoices. I'm proud of him. He's my hero. I would like those, there are 3 people up there that have been born and raised in Newton Falls, correct? Yes. Correct. And you can tell. And this is their city, and these are their people. I'm proud of you. Don't ever give up. And from the wife of a mayor and the family of a mayor, we know what goes on, and we feel his pain. But I'm thanking all of you in the village of Newton Falls for standing behind him, because he's our hero, especially mine. I love you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. All right, if not, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion here. Trying to see where it's at. The executive session motion.
We're going to have public council comments, sir?
Yeah.
You're on number 12 before you get to 13, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Closing remarks. Mr. Zimmerman, did you have anything?
Yes, sir. I'm kind of sorry tonight that we couldn't come to an agreement on the uniforms for our firefighters and the mowing of the grass for our soccer teams here in the city. It's something I really urge everyone to think about going forward. Think about both of these great causes that we have here. Just do what we can to support them. Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Boriak, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. I would like to thank Mr. Matt Mazzaros. He's like a right arm to this community. They don't know how much he does for the community. And whenever he's asked to step up and do something, he's just a rock. As far as the park goes, if it kills me, I'm going to get it done. I don't need any proclamations or anything, but it's a joy to work to see that people enjoy that down there. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm on the last leg of it now. It's got me by the last leg, but I'll finish it. And I want to get serious for a second here. Tonight I asked a question, who authorized the law director to go out for an opinion, and he said, nobody. But I've been told numerous times on this floor that it takes 3 council people to give an opinion. I don't know the answer right now because I'm not a lawyer. But I'm sure that this is going to have to be looked into. Another thing tonight, I have nothing against the ball league or the soccer leagues and that, but I think they need to be argued on their own merit. And for the appointment of council to the Park and Recs Board, just before the meeting, Mrs. Jamie Klein came up and said, I asked her why her name wasn't on it, and I said, did you withdraw? She said no. Well, why wasn't she considered? I don't know. I didn't get an answer for that. I don't know if she has an answer for that. Oh, you're not allowed to talk. Going forward, there's going to have to be a lot of things answered. And I think that the public's starting to see that we need answers. That's all we need. We need open, transparent government so all the people can know what's going on, and especially your elected officials. And I appreciate it. Once again, I want to say thanks to Matt and to people in this community. Thank you for letting me serve you.
Ms. Sputzer, do you have anything?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Braemar?
No.
Okay. Mr. City Manager?
Just a couple of brief things to answer a couple of questions Mr. Stinson raised. At the next meeting, this will be opened up. Water bottles will be welcome. We never thought anybody was going to throw any to begin with. I know, it's a Browns reference. The next thing after that is the COVID money. When the Rescue Act was passed, you may recall the president made a big speech about it, and all the cities got very excited, and there were numbers floating around as to how much each community was going to get. The exact number that was floated around for Newton Falls was $880,000. Now, since that time, the responsibility for dispersing that money has been left to the Office of Management and Budget of the state of Ohio. Somebody creating another level of bureaucracy between us and Uncle Sam. And I talk to them almost every other day, and they have indicated that those numbers that we heard at the very beginning that you heard about may not be related to reality in any way, shape, or form. I spoke to them again on Friday. Again, I watched this like a hawk, and the Office of Management and Budget of the state doesn't know. And you might think, well, how's that possible? There are a few reasons for that. The most important of which is you probably read that the federal legislation said townships don't get any money. And I'm not exactly sure what the reason is, but some states don't actually have an entity called the township, and maybe that was the reason. And so the dollar amount that we get, one of the reasons it's up in the air is that one of their alternative considerations is take all the money that the state of Ohio has, add all the townships to that, and divide all the money that's there to include all the different number of townships. And Ohio has a tremendous number of townships. So what that means is we might get $180,000, we could get significantly less. The other issue in that regard is that under the federal plan, the money's only come in 50% at a time, 50% this year, 50% next year, and the deadline for the state to figure out what's going on is May 24th, but the federal legislation gives the state, June 24th, gives the state the alternative to get a 30-day extension. So believe it or not, there have been seminars taking place all over. We sent, there was a Zoom seminar conducted by the state on Friday. The municipal league's been doing seminars, and when you walk out of the seminars, you reach this conclusion: nobody knows what the heck is going on, and it really makes it very, very difficult to plan. I'm as stymied as you are in that regard. The one thing that I can tell you that I think is true is that this round has much more flexibility. Tremendous amount of flexibility. You can pretty much spend the money on where you think that your needs are. And that's, I suppose, a good thing. But in the final analysis, we continue to be in the dark. And the moment more light sheds on it, I have a contact at the OMB, and I'm going to hear from it right away. And I will convey that to the members of council so that we know, and we should know. But it is an area of great frustration, and I don't like continuing to tell people we don't know, especially when those early numbers came out. By the way, some of those numbers came from the offices of Congress. I think it was irresponsible for them to throw those numbers out there. And let's be fair to the townships. It doesn't make any sense that Newton Falls gets the money as a village, but next door with a similar population, the township would get nothing. That doesn't make sense. So I think it's a moving target. I think we're going to get something, but we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch. Thanks.
That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Only thing I have to report, I want to thank individuals, so many of you that are here week in and week out, and different individuals. And I know we have broadcast on YouTube, Mr. Gregory, and so many times Facebook and stuff. There's a lot of people that are interested in their community, and I appreciate that. I do want to address, something. We not only have a lot of people here, but we had a lot of people that actually applied for the at-large position. In the past, there have been people that would complain and then never do anything. Positions open up and you'd have 1 or 2 people. I think there was 9 people that we started off with, and I think that's really awesome. I mean, difficult process for us to get together. It was hard to even put times together, and Miss Carl, I voted no. It was definitely nothing personal. I mean, there's, like I said, many people that are solid. I was along the thought process first off that I'm looking for somebody that's new to it, that hasn't done it before. But the biggest thing is, it has been brought up, different individuals on council and stuff, when they're looking for somebody, they're looking for somebody that's going to just bring the total peace. They're going to bring perfection. They're going to unite together. And I'm going to tell you what, in a council seat, I ran on civility. And I think I do bring civility. A lot of people may not agree or whatever, but the fact of the matter is, sitting in that at-large seat, unless you have a person that has an S on their chest, or unless it's Jesus himself, that's not going to take place. You know what? There's not going to be a person that's going to bring that. Not as long as we continue with the inconsistencies in the way that we do business. That we come in here and I can throw all kinds of things, and I don't want to put pie on the face, but many things. You look at the April 19th meetings, you look at individuals not showing up for meetings, you look at legal opinions flip-flop. You look at, I could read the charter and what it says there about our recall, and it word for word, and Mr. I was going to call him Mr. Claus, but Mr. Kerlin, what he read is smack dab on, but until we become consistent, I hate opening up on Friday, my agenda, because I'm always afraid of what I'm going to see. So it's not, it could be Miss Carl or whoever that's sitting in a seat, and I don't think that one person is going to be the fix-all. It really isn't. But I do appreciate everybody in Newton Falls. Matt, I appreciate what you did. The people in the ball fields, as Mr. Stimson said, our ball fields look awesome. They really look good. I like looking out there at all the kids that were out there in the tournament that was out there. I'm not sure how many. Didn't one of you guys say it was like 50 teams or something like that?
Yeah, at 52 games on Saturday.
It's amazing that things taking place. I'm just really proud to be from here, and I just ask the community to just keep up the good work. As Mr. Simbeck says, once tagger, always a tagger. And that's it. So make a motion to recess into executive session under personnel matters to consider employment of the finance director. Do we have, somebody wants to make the motion?
Yeah, you need a motion.
Yeah. Nobody's making a motion on it? Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Ray Meyer, do we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, discussion.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Boriak, you have the floor.
I'd like to have Mrs. Munson in there tonight. If we're going in to talk about her, if it's about the finance director, I want her to be able to explain things to us. And I feel that we don't need to just hear one side of it. And I will not vote to go in executive session unless she's invited in.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on this?
Mr. Mayor, may I have the floor?
Sure.
Thank you. We received a letter from Ms. Munson's attorney about 3 weeks ago. There is an issue regarding pending litigation. If she attends the meeting, I certainly will not be because she's represented by an attorney, and I believe it's ill-advised for anyone to have a conversation with her separate without having legal counsel present.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in?
I'm not going to go into executive session if Mrs. Musson doesn't come with us.
Okay. Mr. Zimmerman or Mr. Braymeyer, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Wait a minute, are we going to amend it to allow her in or not? I'd like to put a motion on that we amend the executive session to invite Mrs. Munson in.
Well, the thing about it, Mr. Boriak, and I know I'm not sure where we read it at, it was somewhere in the sunshine or whatever.
Yes.
That I know that council can invite her into, so you don't have to amend it. You can just, you can vote and you can invite her in, and then if she doesn't come in.
We can just name her as an invited guest.
Yes. So,
Excuse me, sir, can I have a second address?
Yes.
I would like to ask the law director, if she wants to come in, why do we have a right to stop her? In other words, why are we stopping her? Mr. Fritz?
She has an attorney. There's been threatened of a lawsuit with regard to the matter. She can weigh personally if she wants, but because she has representation, I cannot be involved with the conversation. And furthermore, I believe anything that the city members say, council members say, may make a change or a detriment to any potential legal matter.
okay. Well, what we're going to do is...
Your Honor, can I be recognized?
Sure. Yeah, we're in the middle. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to call for roll with the thought that if council wants to invite her in, they can invite her in. You understand?
I think I do understand. The only thing so you're going to call for a separate motion? Because whether she's invited in or not would have to be determined by council. Here's the concern that I have, and I appreciate you letting me have the floor for a minute. She has an attorney who's written a letter threatening a lawsuit against the city. And she has every right to counsel and should be represented by counsel, and that has to be respected. If we go into a meeting with her in that meeting, without having her lawyer there, we're now participating in an ex parte conversation. I am a potential witness in that matter, so I can't present in executive session either. So you can go to executive session and nothing happens at all because the law director can't participate because he is a lawyer. I can't participate because I'm a potential witness. So my suggestion is that you allow her attorney to do the work that he's certainly well prepared to do, but there won't be, I mean, you can have executive session, but you'll stand there and look at each other for a while because I can't participate legally anyhow myself as well.
Okay. What did you have, Mr. Boriak?
May I be recognized?
Yes.
I need to get this straightened out because you said she's on sick leave. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's, somebody's not saying something, I don't know.
I'm happy to tell you that's what executive session is for. But if you're going to have the plaintiff in on the legal planning session with the defendant, you are making a significant legal exposure for the city, and that's kind of what the law director was saying. I'm happy to explain it, John, but if you're going to invite the potential plaintiff in while I explain our legal position, I can't legally do that. And you wouldn't want me to, John.
Well, if I don't get both sides of the story, I'm not going in there. I'm just not going into, I'm not going into executive session. There's no reason for it.
Okay.
Let the lawyers fight it out. If there's lawyers going to be involved, or you said it's a threat of a lawsuit, let them take care of it. I'm not going in there.
I'm fine with that too, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to make a motion to reinstate Anna back to work. Bring her back to work.
Hold on, we'll have to, right now, we have a motion on the floor for executive session. We'll have to vote on that and then come out, or whatever we do. And my thought going into it is the same. It could be separate things, but I think it's pretty simple that what I was given was that she was off on some type of a medical leave. I ain't going to go any further than that. So I don't know anything about any legal information. So I'd say we call for a roll with the emphasis that we can invite her in if so. So if we vote and she could go in as our guest, or we don't. But that's my thought. If we vote yes, I'm going to invite her in. If she don't go in, I'm going to go home.
Wait a minute, Tony. Are we going to vote to go invite her in, or what?
We're going to vote to go into executive session, yes or no. And like I said, as myself, if she doesn't go in, I'm going home. I'm not going into executive session. I need to hear both ends.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, realize, so we won't be there either if you do invite her in.
All right, then, well, I'm just saying we might as well, we'll vote.
Okay.
Then it doesn't sound like there's a reason for executive session.
No, doesn't sound like it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to vote either way, and if there's a yes, then I guess one group's going to be over there and one group over there, like we are usually anyways.
Mayor Klein,
yes.
Do I have a second already or not, sir?
Yeah.
Do I have a second on this?
Yeah, I believe so. I'd say we vote, and if it's a yes, Ms. Braymire or Ms. Mustin will go with us. If not, then we won't be in on it. If you'd call for the roll, Ms.
Now, this is to go into executive session, and
Yes.
she comes with us.
Yes.
Yes.
Braymire.
Abstain.
Bariak.
Yes, if she comes with us.
Zimmerman.
No.
Okay, Mr. Law Director, this didn't pass. You weren't here at the last meeting. I would like you to weigh in on something. Don't you have to have a reason to abstain for something? Isn't there I've been told that by other law directors, by other attorneys. There's only a couple reasons. There has to be a conflict, not just I don't feel like voting today.
I don't believe that's true.
Okay.
We can't force them. You can't force them. We have no ability to force them to vote. I will say that the majority of time someone abstains, it's because there's a conflict.
Okay.
But it's up to the individual person, the electors that vote for them in, they get to make their decisions as the voting goes forward.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we're on the floor. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Yeah, I can't. It's not on the agenda.
I made a motion to bring her back to work.
All right. Do we have a second to adjourn?
Seconded.
Okay. Roll.
Braymire. This is
Yes.
a motion to adjourn. Braymire.
Yes.
Bariak.
What's this, to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Ding, ding, ding.